All right. All right, crafting a pitch that works. So obviously you should be pithy and catchy with your titles. And maybe we've accomplished this, or maybe we haven't. But yeah, I just wanted to walk through a couple tips that I had actually presented originally, co-presented to me by me to our grassroots fundraisers at Partners in Health. That it really just breaks it down to the most basic level when you're asking for money from folks. So here they are. They're not revolutionary, or maybe they're surprising though. Number one, be personal. Number two, show impact. Number three, create urgency. Number four, actually dare to ask for money. And number five is think about the style. So I'll just go down some of these strategies quickly and share an example, and then we can hopefully have some questions and discussion. So on Be Personal, this is really the first thing that I've found is important. Working at an organization when you're doing fundraising is so often you can find people saying, well, this organization needs money to do this. What's important is to really connect one-to-one, connect with the person that you're talking to. If it's not going to be, obviously if you're crafting your description for your FAITHIFY campaign, it's going to be the way that you write it. So it's going to be we or I. But think about the relationship that you're trying to build with the person who might pull out their credit card right then and give you a donation. It's really important to tell a story. You don't want to just ask someone for money without any sort of context. What's the problem that you're trying to solve? Why do you personally care about the cause or the issue or the project that you're looking to raise money for? Second, show impact. FAITHIFY is all about bringing your UU values out into the world. So the values and our principles are sort of already given there in some ways, but it's important to really appeal to someone on a deeper level than a political issue or something like that. But what's the real value that you're trying to bring out into the world by raising money for this project? And secondly, how have you demonstrated some sort of success, or how has this approach or project had impact in the past? What can you cite as a really compelling statistic about the initiative that has sort of been in the initial phases, or maybe research about why this certain project is even being formed? And what makes your effort and your project stand out from others? And this isn't really is not negative by any means per se, but it's really, if someone only could hear a couple sentences about what you're doing, what do you think makes it stand out from 100 others that could be out there? A really important thing in fundraising and any sort of campaign is to create urgency. And this is authentic urgency. There are natural disasters that happen in the world. There are political disasters. There are armed conflicts. And those are obviously a certain kind of emergency. There's a certain urgency to them. So it's important to not to exaggerate your project's impact in the world or the need for your project, but to really help people understand why now? Why not in a year? Why not a year ago? What makes this campaign really important in the timeline that's been set out by FAITHIFY? I smile about this because when I first started getting involved in fundraising, this was all too common. Of when you go out to have a campaign, you sometimes hear people say, I need your support, I need your help, it'd be so great if you would get involved. These are all sort of dancing around what you've decided is really important, which is financial resources to help make your project a reality. And sometimes people don't even really grasp that you're asking for a financial contribution unless you just like state it right there. So as you're crafting your project, as you're thinking about posts on social media, as you're thinking about just talking to your friends about the project that you're working on for Faithify, make sure that you say, we need your financial contribution to help us reach our goal. Make sure that you ask for money more than once. People really skim through things nowadays. I know I'm guilty of it. I started a new job this summer, and my personal email has just really gone all. I look at it and I sort of cringe and put it away. I respond to things that are really important, but it's hard for me to really read through every single detail. So being really crisp and clear about, I need your help. I need your financial support to achieve this project or to help us. I'm raising money to do this. Will you make a donation today? And asking for that more than once at the beginning and the end of your communication, giving really clear instructions on how to donate online at your project, or questions people might have, just anticipating those things and getting really comfortable doing it. I attended a workshop on major gift fundraising, which is where you're asking someone for $10,000. Well, if they've given that amount in the past and they obviously are interested in the work that you're doing, it's not going to surprise them that you're actually going to ask them. They actually probably want to help. People are visiting your campaign page. They're listening to you talk about your passion for this project that you're trying to achieve. So it's important to really just not have anxiety, practice in the mirror, practice with your friends who are working on this campaign with you, but just to feel really confident in asking someone for their support and being specific about it. The next thing, the final tip, is to think about style. And again, this really comes down to, particularly if you're like a committee or if you're an institution or if you're plugging into sort of really established group, it can be easy to fall into a really impersonal communication style that might use the passive voice. It might not be fun, friendly, exciting. I think fundraising is most successful when you're connecting to someone one-on-one about issues that you're passionate about. And you want your written communication to really help that come through to folks, that excitement, that the urgency for this project that you're trying to make happen. Another thing to keep in mind is really thinking about, beyond the spoken word and the written word, is what visuals do you have that might help reinforce the project that you're trying to raise money for. And I'm going to walk through 2 examples that I thought were compelling, and you probably might have seen out in the world in a second here. Before I go on, I'm curious if there are any questions at this point. No? Good. All right, so feel free, please interrupt with questions at any time. All right, so now that you've got an amazing campaign on Faithify, you've really worked your pitch, the team there at Faithify have helped you, you've read through other projects on Faithify to get an understanding of, okay, has anyone done this before? What are some of the things they did well? Oh, here's how I might do that. It's time to promote your campaign. So we've already talked about the need to really get your campaign out there, to do it more than once, to be consistently asking for people's support in the timeline that you've been provided. One really powerful way to do that is social media. Social media is really hard to see the impact of directly right away. It can sort of plant a seed in your friend's mind. And when you call them up and say, hey, I'm working on this project and I'd really like your help with it, would you be willing to make a gift to help me reach my goal? They could say, oh yeah, I've seen the pictures you've been posting on Facebook about the campaign. It's really wonderful. This example that I shared here was really inspiring. Has everyone seen the Humans of New York post on Facebook? Well, essentially, there's a gentleman who his name's Brandon Stanton, and he takes pictures of everyday New Yorkers and posts a small paragraph about their life or a certain aspect of their life. And as this has gained popularity, you can see they have 15 million likes on their page. So this is a scale I hope one of us might reach someday. But he decided to really try and use his platform that he developed or his list of people who are interested in what he's doing for good. And he launched a campaign in January with a school in Brooklyn, the Mott Hall Bridges Academy in Brownsville, Brooklyn, which is one of the neighborhoods that's the highest crime rate in New York City. And this picture generated 1.2 million likes. And it was just the beginning of a campaign that raised $1.4 million to help send kids to visit, from this neighborhood to visit Harvard. And because it raised so much money, it ended up creating a scholarship fund. But what we can gain from this for each of our projects is that it's a visual, and it's a story. It's so important to think through the different types of communication that you might send out to promote your FAITHIFY campaign that are more than just that little quick ask for money, but that really help paint the story of what the need is that you're trying to address and how people can get involved and how you show progress and impact. Email is another really great way to get the word out about your campaign. I think what's important to think through when you're sending emails to folks is why should they care? If they have a split second on their iPhone to look at the email that they sent you, what do you want them to come away with? In fundraising for email marketing, you really think of that as like a hook or for the whole email. What's that compelling introduction or that fact about what you're fundraising for that is just kind of shocking? It's going to get people's attention. When we were fundraising for the seasonal rainy season in Malawi, it was really the fact that there was a huge amount of malnutrition because people's crops were destroyed and young children couldn't be fed by their families. We've seen churches burned down. We've seen so many things in the media today that you guys are all working toward doing. So that's really important for your email. The second thing is when you're sending emails to folks is for each email, you should keep in mind a specific call to action. I think that a philosophy that really works around campaign emails is that you should really try to only have one or two actions or calls to action in each email so that you really focus on making the case for people to do that one thing that they can do right now to help you. And initially that might not be fundraising or giving you a gift. Initially that might be recruiting volunteers to help put together a FAITHIFY project. That might be recruiting people to share the project now that it's posted. Those are all different types of calls to action that you can emphasize in an email depending on where you're at in putting your campaign together. And I'll just re-emphasize that fundraising and a campaign for something that's really important and meaningful can also be really fun. And that you should really feel free to be sharing some of the stories that are coming in about maybe your committee like was laughing so hard because of the initial feedback you got about your project, or that gave you the insight to really focus on a certain component. Maybe you guys got 20 donations in one day, and that's like a really amazing milestone that you can share with your supporter community. The next thing I'll emphasize is balancing like the fundraising asks with demonstrating impact. And I'll highlight here the Lucy Stone Cooperative that recently reached their goal on FAITHIFY, and also had an amazing opportunity to be part of the Forbes Under 30 Summit, where their team won a $100,000 grant. This is just one example of sharing impact that is part of this FAITHIFY campaign. And if they had forgotten or like not realized that they should post this amazing photo of them receiving this grant award, then everyone who cares about their organization and their vision would sort of miss out on this important milestone. And they wouldn't realize that by giving a small gift on FAITHIFY, that they're really part of this bigger story and this bigger vision. On the left here is a friend of mine that I worked with, and she posted a picture of a health center that was finished in the village where she volunteered in Guinea. This obviously built when you're working on a building, it's if it's complete, then it exists. But she just posted this really quick photo. There's not even any people in it, to say thank you to all of her friends who had donated. So these are all types of information, communication, and what I think about when you're thinking about a campaign, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then there's the next chapter of that campaign. And you really want to think through how do you communicate each of those chapters, because they're all important milestones that people are a part of. And when you're fundraising, you're really connecting people who care deeply about the values and the issues that you're working on, with the ability to have an impact in the world. I'm sitting at my desk here in Boston, and I'm not able to go and work on border human rights issues at the border, but I'm able to fund projects that are having that impact. And so that's what fundraising is about, is you're connecting people who have a passion and share your values with the ability to have an impact in the world. All right, so that's the end of those are the end of my slides. So I'd love to just take some time and talk about what you guys are any questions you guys have, the pitches that you're working on, any ideas that you have, or stumbling blocks. I'm here to help.
So this is Bob. I'm wondering, when you were working with Partners in Health, which obviously has a big presence in Haiti, whether there are examples of campaigns that you did using something like FAITHIFY over the web that worked, and those things that maybe didn't work. Or are there links to things like that that we could just sort of see examples?
Yeah, that's great. So there are obviously things that did not work and things that did work. I think at Partners in Health, we really worked to try and bring out the individual stories of the people that we were trying to help, or or the people on the ground. Partners in Health is a very large global health organization, but the majority of their staff and organization are actually based in country and are from the country within which they're serving. So the Haiti project was run by majority of Haitians. And so our goal was to really try and bring out who they were, what their life was like, and allow people to really connect with that individual person in Haiti. We also, after the earthquake in Haiti, the organization focused on infrastructure, and so the facts around that there was no large teaching hospital in Haiti, and that the existing infrastructure was damaged for that, was a big compelling point or factoid that we really emphasized.
Are there other questions that people have about kind of writing that pitch? That the last stage that Charles talks about, that follow-up, I think is really important. I just got, and I'm going to show you over here, yesterday, a thank you letter from the totem pole, the sacred obligation totem pole journey from the Lummi Nation. And I really just appreciated their framing. It was a thank you, but also talked about the impact that, more than 4,000 people, the totem pole was touched physically by more than 4,000 people from all religions and nationalities, as they got over 150 news outlets to cover their story of trying to stop tar sands and oil pipelines being transported across their land and our land. And I just appreciated this kind of follow-up to show the impact of what my donation was able to do.
I have a question if I can.
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
One of the things that I'm wondering is, based on the donations that are made, seeing this letter now makes me think that we would then be able to reach back out and thank the people that made the donations. Is that correct?
Yeah, so after your project, when you start your project, you pick whether or not it's going to last for 15, 30, 45, or 60 days. And after your project is done, you'll get a list of your donors, their names and their email addresses, so that you're able to reach out and say thank you. You're able to hit them up for a next campaign. I mean, I think one of the reasons why Lucy Stone was so successful in their second campaign was that they had already done a campaign, so they already had a group of people that were invested and engaged with them, so they could go out and reach out again.
Okay, one additional question too that's not on the same kind of topic, but if I know on some of the other crowdfunding sources, there's a way to be able to make something available. Like, say, for instance, if it's an artist that has UU values and incorporates in something, a chalice or whatever, to the work, then would they also be able to get something like that? Say it was a specific print that they wanted to get out to the funders. Is that possible as well?
That's a great question. Initially, when FAITHIFY launched, we had kind of a tiered system like you do on Kickstarter, that if you donate this amount, you'll be kind of listed as this amount of supporter, and you could receive this amount of reward. The problem with that system is that it made the donation process a little bit longer and a little bit more complicated. So we kind of took that out. But if you were really clear in your project description that you say, for every donation that's made over this amount of money, you will be receiving a complimentary print. If you make that pretty clear in your description, then you're going to have the email addresses of all the people, and you can send them out a survey to get their mailing addresses, and then you'd be able to send them the print thanking them, or in return for their donation.
I think that's a great thing to be able to do. Thank you.
Me too. Any other questions or thoughts? I would love to know if we have a person that's joined us midway through. I'd love to know if any of you are right now contemplating kind of launching something and you have some questions, or any other FAITHIFY related content. I don't know if, Charles, you have some other content that we're thinking of that you'd like to add, but if we don't have any projects.
So this is Bob again.
Hey,
Yes,
Bob.
we're about to put together a FAITHIFY. So we were just watching this, Armel and I, to get an idea of pointers, but it obviously is a little bit of an iterative process that we'll try to put together some rough thing, and then we'll need to get some comments. Is that something that people at FAITHIFY look at things in a rough form and give feedback on, or is that just something we circulate among ourselves and people that are potential donors?
That's a great question. We usually don't provide feedback on projects outside of there being kind of glaring issues from our side. Like if you posted an image and it doesn't seem to be rendering, that would be something we'd mention. It's just hard for us because we have so many projects to kind of comment on them individually, but I'm sure you have a good group of people that could vet it. The other great thing is that you're able to make changes to your project after it launches. So you can change the description, you can change there's a place for endorsers. You can change and add endorsers as the project goes forward. So you can actually be iterative as the project goes out. The only things you can't change are the length of the project and the amount that you're trying to fundraise for.
This is Janice.
Is there a limit on the video length?
No, I probably wouldn't go over 10 minutes.
Okay.
Janice.
This is Janice, and my office has been supporting something that's really near and dear to our hearts, a gathering for UU religious professionals of color every year called Finding Our Way Home. And association Sunday funds have dried up. We've been carrying it. And for the first time, some members of the community are about to launch a FAITHIFY campaign so that we can ensure its success. We're really very excited about it, and we'll see how it goes. And of course, I won't be a part of it as staff.
Right.
But I have faith that it will be great.
Yeah.
And I really thank you for your work. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one. It's amazing. Like I get to sit at my desk and just see the different projects that are posted all the time, which is just wonderful. There's new ones every week, which is exciting. The one thing that I'm going to wrap two things before we wrap up. The first thing is don't be afraid to limit the amount of time that your campaign is live for. A lot of times new FAITHIFYers assume that the longer their campaign is up on the site, the more likely they're going to get to be funded, which isn't the case. A lot of times campaigns that are really long just drag out the amount of time that you are not being funded. Most campaigns during the kind of middle part of their project kind of enter into this kind of doldrum of donations. People have been excited for you initially, and then they're waiting to see whether or not you're going to succeed. So sometimes when you reduce the amount of time that you're live on the site, it creates that urgency that Charles was talking about, and then people are more likely you're going to have a smaller kind of time of inactive donations during the middle of your campaign. The second thing that I'll say quickly is that we're launching or have launched this new initiative called FAITHIFY University, which is basically if you go to our FAITHIFY site and you go to the Post a Project page, you can scroll down and you'll see a link to FAITHIFY University. And basically, once you sign up, you put in your email address, you're going to receive 5 days of tips and content as you go through the tips and content about launching a FAITHIFY site project. So that's how to write, how to activate your networks, how to get the word out. All of these things, it'll kind of lead you through that process and provide you some tips and some guides from other FAITHIFY resources, but also some crowdfunding websites. So I'm going to go and find that link and just put it in the chat box, because it's something that I'm really excited about and that I hope people kind of take advantage of. The other thing that I forgot to mention is make sure that your goal is realistic. The largest that we've been able to fundraise on FAITHIFY was $13,000, and that was the Lummi Nation project. We have a project on there for $20,000, which I think is really exciting, and I really hope they make it. But you know your people and you know your list, so make sure that you're choosing an amount that's reasonable, and you can always go above and beyond your goal amount. So kind of incentivizing people with stretch goals is really exciting. That, you know, if you raised all of your $5,000, you can do this. And once you do that, you send out another email that says, and if we get $2,000 more, we're able to do this. It's a really great way of kind of building some more urgency and getting people to kind of join you. So I want to thank you all for joining us. I want to thank Charles for his expertise walking us through that. That was really, really great. I'm going to put the link to FAITHIFY University in the chat so that you can go and sign up if that's something you're interested in. And feel free to get in touch with us if you have further questions. I'm putting my email address in the chat as well. And I'd love to point you in the right direction or to a resource that'll be useful. I'm here just to get more projects on the site, and so I'm so excited to hear that there's more in the works. All right, well, thanks so much, and we'll hopefully be faithifying with you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.